And I'm going to say welcome everybody to our first professional development session for our literacy coaching approach for the 2020-2021 school year. I am Crystal Hall. I'm with the Iowa After School Alliance, and I'll be on the call today just to help with logistics and support that way. This is probably the last you're going to hear from me for quite some time, I guess is what I'm saying, because I'm going to turn it over to Teresa Slaughter, who is our literacy enrichment coach, and she has a wonderful presentation scheduled for you today. So Teresa, take it away.
Well, hello, everyone. As she said, I'm Teresa Slaughter. I am the literacy enrichment coach and for this professional development series. Some of you may have known me from my previous position as a OST enrichment coach. Some of you may have attended my workshops when I was in Council Bluffs or Dubuque doing the 21st Century conferences or at the Impact Conference as well. It's wonderful to see people come in today, and it's wonderful to be with you guys on this glorious day. If you haven't already, shout your name out in organization and one thing that you're excited about today in the chat box. And just kind of moving on right along, just some housekeeping things. This professional development series is going to definitely encourage participation. We love to have your face on that lovely camera of yours, if you could. We're going to utilize the chat box a lot, and we're going to have a lot of discussion. So if you could just add your name to your profile, it just makes things a little bit more personal and easier to interact. That way people have a name to the voice as well as to the face. And especially it'll be really easy to interact when we get into our group discussions. And then as I had just mentioned, we'll really be utilizing that chat box. So if you want to connect with others, you feel free to do that. If you have any questions, do that as well. And then the last one is, if by chance you need to step away, that is quite all right, understandable. I do realize that we are going to be on here for 2 hours. This is from 12:30 to 2:30. For some of you, it may be during your lunchtime. So if you are eating lunch and you don't want people to watch while you're eating your lunch, feel free to mute yourself and turn off your video. But again, if you need to step away anytime, feel free to do that. Here's some things to know, just kind of so everybody's on the same page as we move forward. There are 7 sessions. 2 of them are back-to-back, so we have one today, and then we have one next Thursday on the 17th. And then when we get back into the new year, we'll have 5 left, and those are spaced out. I did that to allow for time for people to plan and implement the activities or any content that you see here that fit within your organization that you can implement. Also, there's a cumulative workbook. Hopefully you were able to acquire that through your contact person. I've already sent out session 1 and 2. And it's just to allow for people to, if you're a person who likes to organize their thoughts, it'll allow for you to do that. If you want to take notes, it'll provide you a place to take notes, as well as use for future references. And then the sessions are being recorded. Every session we'll have is recorded. The way that we are going to implement the availability of the sessions is the first 2 sessions will be available after January 11th. And then session 3 and 4 will be available about a week, maybe a week and a half prior to session 5. And I will say that in each of the sessions when those sessions will be available. Okay. And then the time in between sessions, there's scheduling coaching that is available Tuesday through Thursday. And this will come in the form of, if you want to contact me via phone, you're more than welcome to do that. If you want to do a Zoom conference, we could do that as well. And that will go based on when Zoom is available. So if it's outside that Tuesday, Thursday, I'm flexible with that. And then on a regular basis, I will be answering questions through email as well. I do prefer that it be the contact person or the next person down from your contact person. That way there's not about 4 or 5 people from the program itself that's contacting me and having the same question. On the right, you'll see the contact information for myself, tslaughter@ost@gmail.com, and then there's my cell number. And as Crystal stated before, she's helping with the logistics, and there's her contact information as well. Crystal,
Teresa, pardon the interruption. Yeah,
Yep.
pardon the interruption really quick, but my email is actually .com, not .org. So I did drop that into the chat along with myself. People
Okay.
are always welcome to contact me that way. And it does look like Billy is interested. She says she doesn't believe she received the workbook. So let me see if I can drop that into the chat for everybody, okay?
Okay, did you? Okay. If not, let me know and I can go out and send that to you as well, Crystal.
Yeah, I just dropped that in. Oh, except I'm sorry, I think it went, I accidentally hit a button. Let's try that again. Go ahead, Teresa, I'll get this figured out. Thanks.
Okay, just let me know and I can drop it to you too as well. Where are we at here? Okay. Before I go to the next slide, is there any questions in regards to what has been talked about, like the sessions, how they're spaced out, the recordings, the scheduling time? Anybody have any questions? And feel free to shout out if you need to. Okay. Gonna keep moving on here. So I wanted to go over the objectives of this literacy enrichment series. When I was thinking of the objectives of the series, I wanted them to really complement what you already do as programming, okay? Because we have about 6 programs that are attending this professional development, and you're from all over Iowa. You all have different unique ways of your programs, and everybody caters to the grades K through 12th grade. So on the left-hand side, in general, OST programs, you guys assist with closing the achievement gap. Again, you're unique in your own way. You're in different areas of Iowa, so you're doing different approaches to your kiddos as well as to their families and the community that you're in. This could be anywhere from doing like homework help, anything in that matter. And then the second one is you increase student gains in academics and social development. So in the academic part, you may focus on math, reading, you may have things that deal with STEM, you may have homework help as well as tutoring. You may even have one-on-one, whether it's, a mentor program or whether it's a reading program where you have, volunteers come in. And then on the social aspect, which is that you may have, incorporated SEL in there, whether it's activities or curriculum. You may have the kids involved in the community, doing community service or service learning, just developing their social learning and so forth. And then the last one on the program side is that you aid in boosting attendance and activity engagement. So with the boosting attendance, you may have kids that actually go to school because they want to attend your program. You help with those kids who have barriers to attending school. You work with the families, and you're working with them and saying, hey, how can we help you get your child to school, or how can we help with this attendance issue? And then the activity engagement part is that you incorporate and bring in community partners. You are exposing kids to different activities that they would normally probably would not get in their daily lives. Whether you're taking field trips, again, whether you're bringing in community partners. So again, I wanted to kind of align the objectives to what you already do. So in our series, the objectives are you're going to be able to identify and create various ways of filling in the gaps and reinforcing those literacy skills. So the content, the activities that we're going to get into are going to help you fill in those gaps, help you complement the school day, as well as reinforce what the kids already know. And we're going to do it in a fun way. The next one is explore various approaches / perspectives to literacy. I do want to clarify this one. We will not be getting into like philosophy and mythology. The activities and the content that we will be discussing and going over are research and evidence-based, but we're not going to dive deep into that. What that really is saying is that we are going to go outside of the traditional look of literacy. That look of just giving a child a book and saying, hey, go over here and read for 20 and 30 minutes, and then we're done. We're going to go outside of that. And then the last one is this provides a platform to have that discussion about literacy. Sometimes we don't take enough, or we don't make enough time to have conversation, to sit down with our staff and say, hey, what are we doing? What do we need to do? Also, this will provide you to share with other programs outside of your area, and get information from them and get ideas from them as well. Any questions so far? And feel free to state your name and shout out what your question is. Anybody? Okay.
Nothing in the chat, Teresa. I think you're free to move on.
Okay. So getting to today's agenda, what we're going to do today. So today we're going to start off with just kind of discussing what literacy is, kind of putting it in our words, what literacy is, which will get us to our first breakout room. And then we'll come back, share out a little bit, and then we'll talk about some food for thought. And this is just information in regards to literacy, what we're going to be getting into. And then we'll go into our second breakout room, which is table discussions. And this is actually going to be an activity that you can use in your program. It's called Four Corners. And when we get there, I'll explain what that means. And then if we have any time, I have a couple of literacy activities that we can do today that you actually can implement today in your program. All right, so we are going to move right along. If you have the workbook, this is the session 1, breakout room 1 piece. And we're going to do this in kind of 2 ways here. The first part is I'm going to have you just think on an individual basis, just to kind of get you thinking before you go into your groups on what literacy is. Okay, what does literacy mean to you? So if you could just take a moment and think about, what does literacy mean to you? Okay. And then the second question is to that is, what would it, if you had to describe how would you describe it? Okay, we're not going to share out now. I'll have you share out when you get in your groups.
Teresa, you kind of froze a little bit during that second question. Do you mind repeating yourself?
Sure. Yep. So if you had to describe literacy, what would it look like? Is what that question is. What would literacy look like if you had to describe it to someone? Okay. Just kind of giving people some time to formulate that in their head, get those questions down. So here's what I ask of you when you go into your group is, of course, you're going to introduce yourself, your name, and where you're from, because like I said, there's 6 different programs here and you're all over Iowa. And then just have that discussion what literacy is. Okay, and you're going to share out with your group what you feel literacy is. And if you could, and this is optional, as a group, come up with a group definition or a group consensus on what literacy is and what it would look like.
Okay.
Okay.
Teresa, looks like we have about 30 people on the call today, so I can put people into 5 rooms, and that'll give about 5 to 6. Yes, or do you want more rooms and smaller groups?
Smaller groups, like 3 or 4, so that would be 7 groups.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to do 8.
Okay, that will work.
So, all right, so folks, you're going to be automatically put into groups today. So when you get put in there, please feel free to unmute yourself, put yourselves on camera, make your introductions, and then if you can respond to the questions that Teresa is posing. And we'll bring you back in how many minutes, Teresa?
We are going to do 10 minutes for this one.
10 minutes. Okay, thank you. All right, and if you need anything, please don't hesitate to choose the invite the host to your breakout room, and we'll be happy to hop in. So thanks, everyone.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to share.
Okay. All right, so Teresa, I think everyone is back now.
Okay.
So,
do we have anybody that would just like to share thoughts, ideas, or what their conversation was about? You can state your name and go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Sanchez. I work for Kids on Course as the Latino Family Liaison.
Mhm.
So our group kind of just went off and we came up with our group description. So I'll just read it off. We said it's a collective understanding on similar language and comprehension that can also be grasped differently by others in a speaking, singing, and photography type of way. So literacy can be used in different forms of communication because not everyone can read and write, but we can define our own reading and writing.
Nice, nice, yes. Very nice, thank you. Anybody else want to hop in there? And just so you know, there's no right or wrong answer to this, to literacy.
I mean, our
Teresa, we
group
do-
went pretty basic. Oh,
Okay.
Our group went
Sierra,
pretty
please.
basic. We just said reading, writing, language, anything that involves those 3. And that includes adding cultural literacy because there's different forms. So
Mhm.
We just left ours pretty basic with that.
Okay. Anybody come up with how would you describe it to someone? Like if you had to describe what it is.
Hi, Michael Burke with Kids on Course. And our group kind of just went broad and labeled it more as communicating. So our definition was literacy is being able to communicate and understand each other in a more complete and positive way.
Okay. Nice. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, everyone. I'll take a couple more. Anybody else want to jump in there?
Teresa, we do have a couple of comments in the chat box.
Mhm.
So Kathy says that literacy is the ability to read, write, and understand, as well as interpret and communicate written material. And then Amber shared that their group said literacy is the ability to read, write, and comprehend words and symbols.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes. All of you are correct. All right. Well, this, the purpose of doing this activity, this exercise, was just to get people to talk about what literacy is and what it looks like. And kind of get a little bit of an understanding of where everybody else is coming from, so that when we are doing this, when we're doing these professional developments, you're like, oh, okay, we're all on the same page. Oh, okay, now I know what it is. It's not just this standard definition, it encompasses everything else with it, with literacy. Also giving you kind of a different perspective of what it looks like in somebody else's viewpoint as well. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one. This is food for thought. And this section here is just information that kind of, where you kind of eat the food, you're kind of just nibbling on it and going, at the same time, like, okay, yeah, I could see that, or yeah, I could feel that. So in this, I was looking up some information, I wanted to look up some research. I came across this First Reader research. They have 50 top literacy statistics. And here's the URL if you're interested in looking that information up. And as I was going through, there was 3 things that just popped out at me. The first one was, in the first 3 years of a child's life, they are acquiring the first of thousands of words that they're going to use throughout their life. That just blew my mind. Because I always refer back to the child who is 3 years old and can tell you that they're at McDonald's. And you're going like, how do you know you're at McDonald's? Or how do you know that's a McDonald's bag? And you can't even read. You're not able to even identify even the letters that are there and to put that together. It's because in the first 3 years, they're acquiring those first thousands of words, okay? The second one was reading, read alouds, or whether you're reading to kids, whether you're just reading to someone, and spoken language impact children and youth literacy success. One of the things that we don't talk about enough is the spoken language piece. Okay, we just believe that literacy is folks sitting down and reading a book and not talking about the spoken language. Okay, and then the last one, when adults read to children, discussing story content, asking open-ended questions about story events, explaining the meaning of words, pointing out features of print. And when they're talking about features of print, that's like if it's informational, that's like if it's leisure, that's like if it's, if you're trying to persuade someone, that's what they're talking about when they say features of print. They promote increased language development, comprehension of story content, knowledge of story structure. That's another one. Story structure, that's when they're talking about the characters, the setting, the plot, like main idea, and a better understanding of language, all of which lead to literacy success. Okay. Again, just food for thought, something to make you go, hmm. Okay. The next one, Irana Pokova, excuse me if I mispronounced that. She's a Bulgarian politician. She's also the general director of UNESCO, and she is a writer of several books. She wrote, literacy is the door to knowledge and central to individual self-esteem and empowerment. Books, and I underline that word because it could be magazines, anything of print, in all forms play an essential role here. Okay. Kind of making, again, that, Voltaire. Voltaire is a French writer. He has numerous books, plays, and poems. And his was, writing is the painting of the voice. That one really stuck out to me. Writing is the painting of the voice. Okay. And then the last one is Paulo Freire. He's a Brazilian educator and philosopher. And he wrote, literacy is an active phenomenon. Its power lies not in a perceived ability to read and write, but rather in an individual's capacity to put those skills to work and shape in the course of his or her own life. Again, another, interesting. Any thoughts on the statistics as well as the quotes? Anybody have any thoughts? Anything comes to mind? Again, just state your name and shout out your answer. Or you can put it in the chat box as well. I'll kind of go to that first. Any thoughts? Anything stick out to you?
Kind of a quiet group today, Teresa.
I see. How about this second one, the second slide?
Oh, sorry. I'm Tyler.
Oh,
with Kids
for
on Course.
me, when we were, sorry.
Go ahead.
You're good.
No, I was just gonna say for me, like when we were in our group, I said that literacy to me is, like putting thoughts into action, because before we could actually write, we just had our thoughts. Before we even had paper, all we could do was have our thoughts. And if you go back in time, we had hieroglyphics. So things were symbols, they weren't words. So we communicated in a completely different way. So writing is really just like a way of organizing all of our thoughts, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tyler, I believe you were going to hop in and say something too.
Yeah. It was just, I kind of talked in our group just a little bit too, that literacy is the tool to explain what's going on inside of you and share it with other people. And that's kind of what it sounds like from a few of these quotes as well.
Thank you for sharing. Yes.
We do have from Michael in the chat, we have, I wonder if showing the text while reading to kids help them understand more of both the reading and the text and the story.
Yes, it does. And I mean, you can look at the research, but yes, it does. I don't know if anybody's taken a Spanish class before or a foreign language class. One of the things that the teachers will do, if they're showing a movie that's in Spanish, they will put the captions on so that they could see it down at the bottom what they're talking, as well as the opposite way too. If it's in English, then they would put it in Spanish so that they're looking at that as people are speaking as well. But yes,
We also,
nice answer.
we also have a comment. Sorry. We also have a comment from Kathy in the chat that the self-esteem and empowerment part is an interesting way to put it.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yep. Go
Katie,
ahead.
I noticed that you unmuted yourself. Katie, was there something that you wanted to share?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I did that.
Nope, you're okay. I just wanted to make sure that you could jump in if you wanted to.
I was gonna comment on kind of going back to what Michael had posted in the chat, and like your response to him. I know that for me, so English is my second language,
Mhm.
and when I was learning English, I remember a part of me thinking, I don't want to speak English because I feel like I'm kind of betraying my where I came from. And I just think I like the quote about power and putting those skills to work. And I think that's something to remember with these younger kids too, is that they could have similar thoughts. Because I was really young when I was learning English. So, and then your kids' minds just like go all over the place. So just hearing that learning a different language is empowering is really good for those kids to know.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing. Yes. Mm-hmm. And you'll see as we go along with this series that the activities as well will help with your ELL students as well. The way that I have things set up with the activities, like I said, is to complement what the skills they already have, but do it in a fun way, as well as you'll be filling in those gaps.
Teresa, we have one more comment in the chat, and it's from Greg. He says that reading through all these literacy statistics makes him feel a little guilty for all the screen time his 3-year-old has had these past 8 months.
Well, you can turn that into a positive. I said you could sit down and, be with your child in that screen time. Maybe reading to them when they're on the computer. Yeah, this pandemic has really turned things around a little bit. Or you have if you can find things where they're able, what am I trying to say? If it's able to talk back to them, so if they're reading something, it's able to talk to them while they're reading, that will work too. But yeah. All right, we're going to go ahead and move along. This actually puts us into our second breakout session. So if you have that workbook, it's session number 1, breakout session number 2. And this activity is actually called 4 Corners. The premise behind the 4 Corners is that you would use your classroom and you're pretty much taking statements or questions and you're posting them up in the kind of towards your corners. Really, it's on your wall, but it's in the corners. And teachers have used this to either review information or to find out what type of, where kids are if they're trying to introduce a new concept. So they may do, what kids already know to help them do their lessons. With literacy, you can use this as a way of finding out what kids like about the book. So for example, if I was doing a book club, I would put up what characters in the story can you relate to, and then have the kids move about in the classroom. And then once they got in that group, they would have that conversation, then they would conversate with the people within their group. You can also do this with little or with younger kids. And instead of saying relate to, you would say, what character did you like? And then once they get there, have them share out what they liked about that character. Okay. If you look this up on Google, you'll find various different ways that you can do the 4 corners, but it's really a fun activity that you can incorporate in your class. It really doesn't take a lot of time to do as well. So we're going to have a 4 corners, but we're going to do it in a different style. I had this set up so when we were actually together in person that we would actually do the 4 corners. But what I'm going to have you do is you're going to be put back into the same group you was before, and I'm going to have you discuss these 4 things. Okay. The first one is literacy enrichment is, and you're just going to finish that sentence. Okay. If you jump over to the next to the right, you're going to list 4 to 6 activities that incorporate literacy enrichment. Down at the bottom to the left, to do literacy enrichment, we need. Okay. And this, I want you to think about what is it that you need in your program to be able to implement a literacy enrichment curriculum or activity. Okay. What is it that you need? This could be something as we need more professional development. It could be something as we need to have book sets so that we can have book clubs. You know, or we need to have support. And then the last one is list community partners who you feel can support, complement literacy enrichment in your area, or just in general. I'll just say in general, because again, we're kind of sporadic here. So in general, what are some community partners that you can bring in to your program that can help support, complement that enrichment piece? Okay. When we put you in your groups, I'm going to give you about 16 minutes to do that, so you're able to go through and have time to really have deep conversations with this piece. This is the piece that I really want you to walk away with after today, is to have that information so that you're able to go back and maybe put some things in place, or you could just start having conversation with your program staff. So Crystal, any questions before we go further on what's being asked?
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, when you get into your breakout rooms, if you need assistance, make sure you hit that button to invite the host into your room. I'm going to remain in the main room. So if you do need to leave to come out and ask a question, we can handle that, and then I can put you back into your rooms then too. But if there are no questions, we'll go ahead and we'll get you back into your rooms. Now, you should be with the people that you previously had been with. So if that doesn't happen for some reason, pop back out and talk to me. Teresa, anything else before I hit the button?
That's all. Unless anybody has
All
any
right.
questions.
Have fun, everyone.